Hello, and welcome to the I've Seen Everything Reaction Wrap-Up podcast. Here is where I share my thoughts, reactions, and review for my latest reaction videos. To find these full reaction videos, please search for @SeenEverything over on YouTube, or check the description of this podcast for more information. Also, please remember to rate and comment on this episode, and follow the podcast so you can see when I'm putting out new wrap-ups. And now, on to my latest wrap-up for The Matrix. It's funny, that Rage Against the Machine song that they have over the credits. There's a group out there that does Rage Against the Machine covers and other kinds of covers with like horns and all kinds of like orchestra instruments called Brass Against. They did a version of that song for the credits on Matrix Resurrections too, as kind of an homage to the original movie. What can you say about The Matrix? Again, you just have certain movies that are a moment in the history of film where something changes. Good or bad, however you feel about it, something changes. Something happens that hasn't happened this way before. It's one of the things that if you love film, I think you wait for. I mean, if you love film, all of us who do love it for different reasons. You love good storytelling, good performance, people who care about the art of it over the kind of, formula and business of it. When somebody can go beyond telling you a good story and show you something in a way that you haven't seen it before, a way that has become so well known by this point that it's hard to imagine the time before things were that way, before that thing existed. I mean, this movie came out, it was so popular, it did so well, it did so many new things in different ways. There were endless copycats that sprung up that tried to kind of play off of the popularity of it. Even, again, from the perspective of a lot of the fans, the sequels to this movie kind of failing to live up to the original. That's not a perspective held by everybody, but it is by some people. I mean, you might be able to pick out some false notes in this movie, but there's just not a lot of false notes in The Matrix. It knows exactly what it is. It knows exactly what it's trying to deliver on, and it pretty much does that. Now, is it the most complex and challenging story ever? No, I wouldn't say that. How many times have you seen a story about someone dealing with the burden of power or the burden of being this special person, the one, the one chosen person, the burdens that go with that, and are they actually the chosen one or are they not? Living into that, rising to the challenge of the expectations of their existence. This is basically just, as far as the story of this, one of the newer sci-fi versions of that, at least, as of the end of the 20th century. But again, they sure found their own way to do it, something that people hadn't seen before, and something that still holds up today. You see people watch this today, and they still really enjoy it. There are certain things I'm sure that hit differently today, because we live in a much different world. Again, as I said, I remember back when this came out, that even that phone he used, I'm sure that looks super old and antiquated now. I remember people were trying to find those phones after this movie came out. It's like, wow, that looks really cool and futuristic. It's hard for people to even imagine a time before smartphones existed now. The whole explanation of basically a virtual reality world, but a virtual reality world that would be so realistic that you would not be able to tell the difference between that and actual reality, was a lot more of an intellectual stretch when this movie came out, based on where technology was at the time, and any attempt to create something like that would have been nowhere near that realistic. Now we live in a time where we're still probably a little bit off from it being completely realistic looking if someone tried to make a simulation like that, but we're getting closer and closer all the time. So at the time this came out, it was really more of something that kind of captured the imagination. And as I said, even watching it, one of the things that really captured my imagination, still does, is the idea of being able to be plugged into a system where you can put in a program to teach you how to do something, teach you a subject, teach you a skill, something, and just hit a button, and in a few seconds it just loads it into your mind. I mean, how amazing would that be if we could learn things that quickly and that efficiently? I mean, it might devalue knowledge in general if everybody could do that, but it seems like one of those things that it's amazing to think of because we don't have it. If we actually did have it, people would probably be looking back like, hey, remember when we used to learn things the old-fashioned way? You just had to learn them manually. Technological advancement cuts both ways a lot of times, But The Matrix does what it intended to do, in that it presents a very interesting and stylized story in its own unique way that hadn't been done before. And it's very visually stunning to watch. It's still interesting all these years later. It asks a lot of questions about existence and the nature of who we are and the nature of how we live and how we see each other. and, making decisions about who you are in life and what you do in life, and being defined by your actions rather than by what the world tells you you are, being defined by your morality rather than what the world tells you you are. So I think those story elements are what helps carry it through, and the overall style and commitment to the way the story is told. So some movies just stand the test of time, and The Matrix certainly does. How does the rest of the franchise stack up? Well, we will be watching the rest of it, so I hope you'll come out here to watch it with me. Next week, we will be watching The Matrix Reloaded. We will also have the Animatrix available exclusively on Patreon. So there are some vital things in the Animatrix as far as the canon of the Matrix world, especially the Second Renaissance, so I'll be looking forward to talking about that with you. But that is it for us here this evening. I really enjoyed watching this again. I appreciate having you here with me to watch it, and I will see you on the next video. Take care. Thanks so much for listening to the I've Seen Everything reaction wrap-up. Again, to find these full reaction videos, please search for @SeenEverything over on YouTube or check the description of this podcast for more information. Also, please remember to rate and comment on this episode and follow the podcast so you can see when I'm putting out new wrap-ups. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll meet you here for the next episode.